The hour when the world's noise finally settles, and the strange things make themselves known. I'm Sterling Gray. You're listening to Strangely Odd. Pull up close. We've got a long night ahead of us. Tonight, friends, I want to take you back. The summer of 1990. The Cold War is ending. The wall came down the autumn before, and the whole world has got this held breath to it. Like something enormous is about to tip over, and nobody's sure which way. And in a quiet corner of West Germany, a city called Augsburg, there is a building most people will never know exists. Inside it, young Americans sit at consoles with headphones pressed to their ears, listening to the Soviet military, word by word, hour after hour. Some of the most carefully trained intelligence analysts the Army has ever produced. 6 of them were about to do a thing that no one could explain. Not their commanders, not the FBI, not the counterintelligence officers who would spend that entire summer chasing them across an ocean. On the 9th of July, those 6 soldiers walked off the watch floor, out the gate, onto a plane. And they did not go home to their families, friends. They drove to a little town on the Florida Panhandle, a place called Gulf Breeze. Now, if you know your history, that name just lifted the hair on your arm, because in 1990, Gulf Breeze was the most famous UFO town in America. And when the Army finally caught up to them, the 6 had a story. They said they had been talking to something, on a board, a Ouija board, a voice that gave them a name, and gave them dates, and gave them a warning. That the world was ending, and that they had been chosen to be somewhere safe when it did. Espionage, desertion, a shared delusion, or something the rest of us were never cleared to hear about. My guest tonight has lived with this case for years. The files, the interviews, the book one of those soldiers sat down and wrote when it was all over. Investigative journalist Diane Holloway. Stay close, friends. We're going to follow all 6 of them down into the static, right after this.
Strangely Odd with Sterling Gray. We'll be right back. Stay close. And whatever you do, don't touch that dial.
This is Strangely Odd with Sterling Gray. It's after midnight somewhere. Truth is, it's always after midnight here. The world goes quiet, and the strange gets loud. Wherever you are tonight, friend, you are not alone out there. Stay with us. Folks, if your bookshelf doesn't yet hold a copy of Cryptozoology Monthly, you are missing out on the finest field reporting in the country. Sasquatch sightings, lake monsters, the things our official science likes to pretend don't exist. 12 issues a year, delivered in a plain brown wrapper, because we know not everyone in your house is ready for the truth. Cryptozoologymonthly.com. Tell them Sterling sent you.
From wherever the signal finds you tonight, this is Strangely Odd with Sterling Gray. Welcome back to the Strange Hours.
And we're back. Strangely Odd. I'm Sterling Gray. With me tonight, investigative journalist Diane Holloway. She has spent the better part of a decade inside one of the strangest files in the history of American military intelligence. Diane, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Sterling. Honestly, it's a little surreal. I've listened to you at 2 in the morning more times than I'd admit. Usually while I'm down some rabbit hole I shouldn't be in. So to be on the other end of it, yeah.
Those 2 a.m. hours are where the real work gets done. Let's start at the beginning. Summer of 1990. Who were these 6 people?
So, okay, the first thing I want people to understand is what kind of soldiers we're talking about. Because when you hear, 6 soldiers went AWOL, you picture kids cutting and running. These were not that. They were intelligence analysts, Army. The 701st Military Intelligence Brigade, out of a place called Field Station Augsburg, West Germany. And Augsburg was not a base exactly, it was an ear, a listening post.
Listening to whom?
The Soviets. This is the very tail end of the Cold War. These six sat with headphones on in shifts, pulling Soviet military communications out of the air. Signals intelligence. They'd trained together down at Corey Station in Florida, and they held some of the highest clearances the Army gives out. Top secret, and then the compartments above that.
So the most trusted people in the building.
The most trusted. Vetted, polygraphed, the whole, yeah. Which is exactly what makes the rest of it so hard to file away. Because somewhere in 1989, they started playing with a Ouija board.
On the listening post.
Off hours at first. You have to picture it. They're young, they're isolated, foreign country. They're spending all day swimming in this ocean of secret signal. Very high stress, very strange headspace. And the board was a game, until it stopped being a game.
When does it stop being a game?
When it gets specific. According to Vance Davis, he's the one who later wrote about all this, the board introduced a personality, an entity that named herself Sapphire. And Sapphire said she had been a living woman once, a woman named Velda. And then it wasn't just her. Other voices, I guess, came through. One claiming to be the Old Testament prophet Zechariah. Others saying they were Mark, Timothy, New Testament names. At one point, the Virgin Mary. I know how that sounds, Sterling. I do.
I've been doing this a long time, Diane. Nothing sounds too strange in this chair. Keep going. What did Sapphire want?
At first, small things, predictions, little ones. And this is the part the skeptic in me hates. Some of them, the six said, came true. The one everybody points to is an earthquake. Sapphire supposedly gave them a date and a place and a number. The number of the dead. And then an earthquake hit Iran, and the number was close enough that it broke something open in them.
So now they're not playing anymore.
Now they believe. Completely. And that's when the messages change. The board stops doing parlor tricks and starts giving instructions. It tells them the world is ending, that a great cataclysm is coming, and the rapture with it, that there is an antichrist, and that these six specifically, have a role.
A role.
To survive it, to be in the right place when it came. And the board told them where the right place was. It told them to leave the Army, leave Germany, and go to a little town on the Florida Panhandle, Gulf Breeze.
And our listeners just felt that name land. Because Gulf Breeze in 1990 wasn't just any town.
No, it was the UFO capital of America at that moment. A man named Ed Walters had been allegedly photographing, these craft over the town for a couple of years. It was a circus. MUFON was there, the believers, the debunkers. The sky over Gulf Breeze was supposedly the most active in the country, and the board sent them straight to it.
Before they pack a single bag, I want to understand how deep this went. Was it just leave and survive? Or did the board give them a job?
A job. And this is the part where the first time I read it, I had to put the file down and walk around the block. Because in some of the accounts, the mission wasn't only to live through the end, it was to recognize someone, the Antichrist, a real person walking around out there that they were supposed to identify. And in the darker versions, to stop.
To stop.
I have to be careful here. One of the six, Beeson, later denied that assassination piece flatly, so I won't hand it to you as fact. but it lived in the story from very early on. Picture it. 6 trained soldiers, told by a voice that they, personally, had been chosen to meet the end of the world face to face. That is the headspace they drove to Florida in.
And by now it isn't only Sapphire on the board.
Oh, it's a whole cast. And it gets stranger because it stops being only the dead and the biblical. Davis describes slipping into a trance and meeting, and I'm quoting the shape of his own account here, a green-skinned woman, an alien. He called her Kia. He said she came from a world 45 light years out, a planet destroyed by another race, that she commanded ships. And then the detail I genuinely cannot forget, because it's so mundane and so insane in the same breath. He says she healed his feet. He had flat feet. He says she fixed them.
The cosmic and the chiropractic in the same sentence.
Right? And you laugh, I laugh, but think about what that does to 6 people over months. The board isn't a board anymore. It's a switchboard. A prophet on one line, a dead woman on another, an alien commander on a third. And every single one of them agrees. Every voice says the same thing. The end is coming, and you have somewhere to be.
When every voice agrees, there's no one left to argue with.
There is no one left to argue with. That's the trap. Whoever or whatever built it.
So walk me through it. The day they leave.
July 9th, 1990. They just go. They walk off the watch floor out the gate.
Wow.
6 analysts with active top secret access at a frontline listening post at the end of the Cold War, gone. On a plane. And then driving across Florida toward Gulf Breeze.
And the reaction back at the post, that has to be a 5-alarm fire.
It's the worst thing that can happen, Sterling. From a counterintelligence standpoint, 6 cleared SIGINT people vanishing together is a nightmare scenario. The assumption immediately is defection or espionage. The thinking is the Soviets have turned them and they're running. There were people that summer absolutely certain they'd lost 6 assets to the other side.
So for those few days, in the minds of the people hunting them, this is espionage. Full stop.
It's a 5-alarm flap. You have to picture the machinery, Sterling. This is the NSA's world, the Army's, NATO's. 6 people with that access don't just generate a missing persons report. There are entire agencies that genuinely cannot sleep until they know whether those 6 are sitting in a room in Moscow. Telex is flying, families getting knocks on the door. The whole apparatus switched on at once, pointed at the dark.
And all of that firepower was pointed at
A spare bedroom in Florida with a Ouija board on the carpet.
But that's not what they find.
What they find is a traffic stop. One of them, Huckstadt, gets pulled over in Florida. Something small, a tag, a violation. And that's the thread that unravels it. The 6 are picked up, and several of them are staying at the home of a local woman, a psychic, named Anna Foster. They're not at a dead drop. They're not meeting a handler. They're waiting for the end of the world in a spare bedroom.
From international incident to that.
To that. And here's where the official story wants to put a bow on it. They're taken in. Fort Benning, then Fort Knox. There's an espionage investigation. And then, very quietly, it all just goes away. The charges are dropped. All 6 are discharged from the Army within a matter of weeks. No court-martial, no prison, nothing.
Now, Diane, stop there. Because that is the detail that, for me, turns this from a sad story into something else. 6 people with that level of access walk off a NATO post, and the consequence is a quiet discharge?
That is the question that ate 10 years of my life because it doesn't fit. The penalty for what they did on paper is severe, and instead it's handled like an embarrassment somebody wants to forget. So you start asking, why so gentle? And that's where the case stops being about a Ouija board and starts being about something with a lot more hardware behind it.
Lay out the theories for me, the serious ones.
Okay, so the first one, the official one, is the simplest: mass delusion. 6 high stress kids, isolated, sleep deprived, marinating in secrecy, find a Ouija board and talk themselves together into a shared apocalypse. There's a clinical name for it: a delusion that spreads through a tight group. And honestly, that could be all this is.
But you don't think it's all this is.
I think it doesn't explain the leniency. So, theory 2, and this is the one that gets people's
An
pulses up.
experiment
The
that got
idea
loose.
that they weren't subjects of a delusion, they were subjects of an experiment, that somebody was running them, that the board, the contact, all of it was a psychological operation, a test of how you steered trained, trusted people. Mind control is the lurid phrase. Behavioral influence is the polite one. An experiment that got loose. Yeah. And if that's true, then the quiet discharge isn't mercy. It's cleanup. You don't court-martial your own test subjects in open court because discovery means somebody standing up and explaining the program. So you make it go away.
You said there was a third.
The third one is the one I can't shake, Sterling. And it's just a matter of a calendar. They walked off the post on July 9th, 1990. 3.5 weeks later, August 2nd, Iraq invaded Kuwait, the Gulf War. And these 6 were signals analysts, listening to that whole part of the world.
You're suggesting they heard it coming.
I'm suggesting it's possible they knew something. Encryption keys, intercepts, foreknowledge, pick your version. The theory goes that what really bought their freedom wasn't a board and a psychic. It was leverage. They walked out with something in their heads the Army could not afford to have aired in a courtroom. And so a deal got made. Discharge, silence, everyone goes home.
And the UFOs? Where do the lights over Gulf Breeze fit into a story about wiretaps and the Gulf War?
That's the 4th layer. And it's the oldest trick in this whole field. There is a real, documented history, this isn't fringe, of military intelligence using UFO stories as a tool, as cover, as disinformation. You feed a target a beautiful, crazy story about saucers, and while they're chasing the saucers, they never see the real thing you're hiding. It's happened to real people. It wrecked them.
You're describing something that actually happened to real people.
More than once. There's a whole grim chapter of this field. Researchers, civilians, who got fed manufactured UFO material by men with badges, on purpose, to discredit them, or to bury something real underneath something ridiculous. And by the time it was done, some of those people had lost their careers, their health, their grip on what was true. The saucer was never the point, Sterling. The saucer was the camouflage.
So a UFO story can be a weapon.
A UFO story is a beautiful weapon. It discredits itself. The moment you repeat it out loud, you sound insane, so you stop being a threat to anybody. And that is exactly why, with these 6, I can never fully close the file. Because a Ouija board and an alien named Kia is the single most effective way ever devised to make sure nobody takes seriously whatever 6 trained ears might actually have heard on that watch floor.
So which were the 6? The ones being fed the story, or the ones who saw through it?
And there it is. That's the whole case, in one sentence. I have sat across from people who knew them. I've read what Davis wrote. And the thing I keep coming back to, these were not gullible people, Sterling. The entire job, the thing the Army spent a fortune training into them, was to tell signal from noise, to not be fooled. That was the skill. And 6 of them, at once, were either fooled more completely than anyone in the history of the unit, or they weren't fooled at all. And I genuinely do not know which answer scares me more.
What happened to them? After.
Scattered. Tried to have normal lives. Vance Davis went on to write it all down. A book in 1995 called Unbroken Promises. And the thing is, he never took it back. Not a word. Years later, decades later, he is still saying the voice was real. That it told them things no 6 people in a barracks could have known.
And the board itself? Sapphire?
That's the part that okay. According to the account, the last messages weren't goodbye. The board didn't say we're done. It said it wasn't finished. That it would go quiet for a while and then it would speak again. To them or to someone. And Sterling, every so often I get an email from a stranger who's just found the board in a closet or an attic and started asking it questions. And I think about that line. It wasn't finished.
It wasn't finished. Diane Holloway, stay right there. We are going to open the lines after this break, because I have a feeling some of you out there in the dark have sat at that board too, and heard it answer. The numbers are open. Strangely Odd will be right back.
Keep the lights low and the radio on. Strangely Odd with Sterling Gray returns after these messages.
You ever wish you could keep reading after the show ends? The Night Atlas Book Club is for you. 1 title a month, hand-picked. Out-of-print paranormal classics, oral histories from witnesses who never wrote books of their own. The occasional novel that gets at the truth sideways. Mailed to your door, wrapped in brown paper. This month, we're reading a memoir by a Forest Service tower watcher who spent 12 summers in the Cascades. Saw some things. Wrote them down. Most of them anyway. Night Atlas Book Club. Find us at nightatlas.club. $12 a month. Cancel anytime. But you won't want to. You're listening to Strangely Odd. If something we said tonight rang a bell for you, tell somebody. Word of mouth is how the strange hours survive. Always has been. Share the show. Talk about it tomorrow. Or don't. And keep it for yourself. Either way, friend, we're glad you're here.
This is Strangely Odd with Sterling Gray. You found the strange hours, and they've found you. Stay right where you are.
And we're back. The lines are lit all the way across the board tonight, and Diane Holloway is still with us. Let's get to you. First-time area code, you're on Strangely Odd.
Hi. Hi, Sterling. Oh my gosh. Okay. So when I was in college, me and 2 roommates, we did the board thing, just messing around. And it spelled out a name my grandmother used to call me. A pet name that nobody outside my family ever knew.
And your roommates didn't know it.
There's no way. She'd been gone 4 years. I haven't touched one since. I threw it in a dumpster behind the dorm, and I still felt bad, like I'd let something out and just left it there.
Thank you, Marie. Hold that feeling. We'll come back to it. West of the Rockies, you're on the air.
Yeah, Sterling. Ray. I did 22 years, Navy, most of it a radio man. And I'll tell you what nobody tells you about the midwatch. 3, 4 in the morning, you're on the headphones, and the static. It isn't empty. You hear rhythms in it, numbers stations. And one night I heard the static say my name, clear as you and me.
What did you do?
I logged it as interference, because what else are you gonna write? But I knew it wasn't interference. Those 6 kids in Germany, they were on the same kind of watch. I don't think they imagined a thing.
A man who's been in the chair, Thank you, Ray. Diane, that one's right in your wheelhouse.
It really is, and that's the thing people miss. These were professional listeners. When a professional listener tells you the static spoke, you can't just wave it off. That's the one set of ears trained not to be wrong.
Let's go to a first-time caller. You're on Strangely Odd. Go ahead.
Hey, Sterling. Yeah, so I was stationed in Germany after all this, in the 90s. And the Gulf Breeze thing, it was like a ghost story on post. Everybody knew it. And there was a rule, an unwritten rule. You did not bring a board onto a shift. Ever. Guys who'd laugh at anything wouldn't laugh at that one.
An unwritten rule. Those are the ones that mean something. Thank you. One more before our anonymous caller. Go ahead.
Sterling, I almost hung up. Okay. 2 years ago, I bought a board at an estate sale. This old one. The box was all soft at the corners. And the first night, the only thing it would spell was a name, over and over. V-E-L-D-A. Velda. I didn't know what it meant. I just heard your guest say it, and I had to.
Claire, where did you buy that board?
Florida. The Panhandle. Why? Why does that... Oh no.
Claire, stay on the line with my producer. Don't hang up. We'll talk after the break. Friends, there's a call holding that came in with no number on the board. No name. The screen is just blank. We get one of those now and then, and I always take it. Caller, you're on Strangely Odd. Go ahead.
Sterling, it's me. Don't say my name, just, it's me.
Friend. The board didn't show a number again, just the blank. I had a feeling that might be you tonight.
Same booth, out on the highway, like always. Quarters running low, so I gotta be quick. But I had to call after what your guest was saying. About the voice, about the woman.
Tell me.
3 weeks ago, this phone rang. You hear me? A payphone on an empty road rang. And I know a payphone shouldn't ring, Sterling. 40 years I've put my quarter in and called out. It's a one-way street. But it rang. And I picked it up.
And someone was there.
A woman. Calm. Real calm. She didn't say hello. She gave me a date, last Tuesday, and a number. Said, this many. And I laughed. I hung up. I thought, somebody's got a crossed line.
But the date came.
The date came, and it was in the paper. The number, exact, to the one. And I've been standing out here every night since, Sterling, with my hand on this phone, waiting for it to ring again. Because I don't think she was wrong. I think she was early.
Friend, do you want it to ring?
I don't know anymore. That's the part that scares me. She said she'd call back with one more number, and I think when she does, it's gonna be a day. Mine. Or everybody's. Quarters about 2.
Stay near the light, friend. Same as always. Call me when you can.
If you want her numbers, Sterling, start listening to the ones that don't come from people. They're already on the air. They've been on the air the whole.
And the line goes to Coins. He's gone. Speaking of numbers that aren't meant for us, friends, stay with me. It's time. Before the break, friends, you know the ritual by now. Tonight's numbers station puzzler. Regulars know exactly where I hide the key. In the doorways. In how each of these lines begins. Eyes open then. The key tonight is a word you have already heard me say. More than once. Easy to miss it because it is the name of a place. A small one. On the water. Zero in on the openings in their order and she will give herself up to you. Earn Her and the locked message, pulled straight off the static, is yours to read. Lights low. Here she comes.
Attention. Attention. Begin message. 20181 01317 09201 11316 11010 22624 23. Message ends. Message ends.
Find the key, friends. Run her against the groups and she'll open. When you've got the message, email it with the episode number to doublesecretlabs@gmail.com. Crack her, and you might just earn the secret number and a real line to this show. We'll be right back.
More Strangely Odd in just a moment. Don't touch that dial, Night Owls. Sterling Gray returns right after this.
Tonight's broadcast, like every broadcast, is brought to you by Double Secret Labs. Double Secret Labs. Their slogan? We do science, so you don't have to. Now, what kind of science exactly? That's a fair question, friends. I've asked. They don't say. And I'm not sure anyone outside that building could tell you what goes on inside it. But the check's clear, the lights stay on. So do yourself a favor, friends. Like and subscribe to Double Secret Labs. And find the show itself, Strangely Odd, on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Take us into the dark with you. Double Secret Labs. We do science, so you don't have to. Folks, that's our hour together. Lock your doors, draw the curtains, and if you hear something out there, just remember, you're not the only one listening. I'm Sterling Gray. This has been Strangely Odd. We'll see you tomorrow night in the strange hours.